welcome back to another episode.
It took this poor guy like 8 hours to drive here, and he was driving through this mountain valley between Spokane and Missoula with a freeway in it. And the closer he got to Missoula, the less traffic there was in either direction, until it started to look like some kind of doomsday movie where there's the only truck on the road is the one you're driving. Finally got here. We were having bad weather that day, and the rain petered out right about the time and I was watching it to wait for it to quit raining. We're going down the valley, and the clouds are like starting to clear in front of us as we're getting down there. And then we turn to go up into the Sapphire Mountains, and the clouds are still over where we're going, the Sapphire Mountains, still dropping precipitation. So as we're coming up the pass in the valley, it looks like, a giant axe rent the mountains, and somebody made a road at the base of it, and you can't see anything in front of you. It's white. And as we're going up, we're going into the clouds, and then we're going through thick forest, and it's white on both sides with this eerie mist going through it. And it looks like a scene from Lord of the Rings. The whole damn thing looks like a scene from Lord of the Rings. And we get further up, and we start coming up above the clouds now. And the clouds are further down in the valley, and now we're on the edge of a cliff. And we're driving on this one-lane, rutted, horrible, unimproved, super dangerous dirt road with, wide outside corners that are only one lane, so you can fly off, or somebody oncoming can crash, and you can both fly off. And we're going up this thing, and it just got done raining, so it's slick. You're sliding around, too. Down below us, we can't even see the other side of the valley, but we can see the clouds below us, and peeking up out of the top of the clouds are the treetops. And that's pretty weird looking. And then a couple more curves ahead, you can see a little bit of the other side of the valley. You can't see the base of it. You can't see the walls of it. All you can see is this huge rock promontory jutting out about 1,000 feet in the air, like it's floating on a cloud castle in the sky, and nothing but clouds below it. And then finally we even got above that, and we're going over the top of the pass, and it's got all pine trees and stuff up there. We're finally off the edge of the cliff road, and all the pine trees are covered with snow. It's like frickin' Christmas City of the North, because we're too high up now, and the rainstorm that was rain down below, keeping in mind this is June, has been snowing up here. So we got 3 or 4 inches of snow on the trees, hanging thick on them, nice wet snow. It's Christmas City of the North again. We got on the pass on the other side, and as we're going lower, there's less and less of it. And when we finally got down to where camp was, Team LOD had already got there ahead of us, and there hadn't been really any snow down there. It kind of landed as like slushy rain and melted right away. But unbeknownst to us, there were still snowbanks left. And we didn't have to bring any ice with us for our cooler. We could have just snow poached for the rest of it. So they were down there. They had the camp all set up. They had the fire going and everything. Me and Papa Craig quickly set up our tents and then squatted around the fire for a while until both of them went to sleep. Now, in the middle of the night, Hawk had to get up and get in his vehicle and turn it on to warm himself up. And this guy's no wuss. He was actually sick and shouldn't even have been there. And it got way cold that night. How cold do you think it got, Papa Craig?
I don't know, down around 20.
Yeah, my guesstimate was about 23 degrees because my drink kept freezing over in between sips, and I'd keep breaking the ice on it. But it was so cold we didn't even go to sleep. We just sat up all night, which is pretty heroic because keeping in mind Papa Craig had just done like a 10-hour drive that day and then sat up all night. And we just sat there and stoked the campfire all night until the sun was starting to come up. It was getting to be twilight, and then I said, hey, see that over there across the river where there's that weird tree with the bent part in it? Keep your eye on that spot over there.
Right, so I looked at that tree, and it looked like there was a Bigfoot peeking out from behind a tree. Classic looked like a Bigfoot peeking from out behind a tree. And as it got a little lighter and I kept looking, the head on the Bigfoot backed away and faded into the background, and I remember thinking, that can't be possible. That just can't be. So I didn't figure it was a Bigfoot or anything, and went over to talk to you, and you said, well, it's almost light. Let's go see if we can see some footprints on the ground.
Yeah, because nobody had been there for 10 months, so if there was any tracks on the river going upriver, wouldn't have been people camping there. So pretty prime opportunity to go check it out. So I led the way. Off we went.
Off we went, and all of a sudden my legs turned into noodles. Felt like I was kind of punched in the gut. Dizzy, stupid. I said, Duke, I got to go back right now. My legs don't work. they're noodles. And I think I just turned and started staggering back towards camp. Gotta go now. I was afraid I was going down, and so went back and sat by the fire, and after a while I says, "Hey, do you think I just got zapped?" I said, "It's highly possible." And I remember standing up, sitting down, trying to get things to work, and I went and got something to eat because it felt like it might help the pain in my stomach, and none of that helped. So after about 20 minutes,
You forgot the other thing you asked me too. After you said, "I think I got zapped," and I said, "Yeah, it's possible," and you said, "What should I do?" And I said,
"Oh,
"Well,
yeah."
first off, I'd recommend you don't go upriver again."
Right. Like that was going to work. Anyway, yeah, so I went and got back went and got my tent, and I said, "I'm going to bed." You said you could freeze. I said, "I have plenty of blankets. I'll be all right there." But as soon as I got in the tent and out of your influence and, another person around, this fear came over me. My gosh, dread and terror and fear and strange thoughts and stuff like we're all going to be ate. And right in the middle of all that dread and terror and fear, I just passed out. Next thing I knew, it was 1 o'clock, and although I felt a lot better, I know for the whole weekend I didn't feel all that bright and chipper and smart.
So, he told me it didn't really wear off until 3 days later after you got back. So you got a better part of a week of being discombobulated from whatever happened, assuming that they zapped you or whatever. And just to chime in on my end of it, after you left the campfire and decided to go lay down and you were sure you weren't having a heart attack or something, right. Everybody else was asleep. Kai was in his tent asleep. Hawk was up in the truck with the heater running intermittently so he wouldn't freeze to death because he was sick and probably shouldn't have been there to start with. And you were in your tent. I was the only one that was up still feeding the campfire. And I was just sitting in my chair by the campfire. And apparently at some point I fell asleep. So I'm not getting hit by any waves of terror. I'm sitting out there by myself and nothing's happening to me. And I don't know how long I'd napped for, like an hour or something. And something startled me. I woke up and there was a deer standing on the other side of the fire pit from me, grazing. And when my head popped, it went, "Oh my God, not an inanimate object, human right there." Ah, and it took off as fast as it could, which scared me even more. It's like, oh, deer panicking and running away 8 feet in front of me, So at that point I went, well, everybody's still asleep and nobody's gotten up yet. And I'm just going to go lay down in my tent. So I fell down, and I probably got up about the same time you did. And then we decided from there that since you were feeling a little bit better, we would go drive down the pass and I would show you some of the stuff that we had found before. And I needed to stop on Camp B and shoot a kind of a follow-up on one of the things that happened when we were there a couple of years before with Caveman and Kevin, when they saw one sneaking across the river and coming up into the pine trees right next to camp. So I wanted to, do a daylight thing of it. And they were sitting here and blah, blah, blah. Oh, that's in episode 120 if you want to go back and look at it. So anyway, we took the vehicle and went down the pass to where the Super X was. This is one of the places that Papa Craig actually got a picture from that didn't somehow get deleted or fuzzy or something weird happened to it. And he got a really sweet picture of the X. And then he tried to walk through the timber tangles straight upriver from there. And everything he tried to film, it didn't come out. There's Papa Craig. He's up here in the high timber with me. Forest Construction Inc. has really good building materials. Lots of lodgepole pines. Can you see it? There's a big teepee structure right there. Let's walk over. Wading through the timber.
Look at that. Wading through the timber. So, it'll make it easy to find some of this stuff or get to it. We actually have skeeters here. I'm surprised because we got 5 inches of snow up in the pass last night. All the pine trees up there were covered with snow and looked like Christmas trees when they were coming down. And we got just low enough where we were at in the valley that there hadn't been very much snow there. It melted right away. But we got frost again last night. And my
that was the weirdest dang thing. I thought it was my new camera and stuff, but everything it was all streaked or blurry or black or gone. And I thought, well, it's just me trying to run the new camera, but when I got home, I ran the camera and nothing bad happened. Before I left, nothing happened to any of my videos.
And we're recording this in early August, and he's been out pretty much every weekend since he was here in June using that camera, and it's always worked just fine.
It's just fine. It's a pretty simple camera.
I think I may have the reason for that. And I was actually watching. I was keeping a close eye on him. I went further over to the left and went over to the river, the edge of the river, because they kind of got a trail over there, so they leave tracks occasionally. And I figured I'd check for those while we were both going up. And I know you found at least 1 or 2 tracks while you were in there that you were trying to film. And I was watching you actually with your camera, and you're dialoguing or monologuing, and you're talking about whatever you're filming and everything. And I'm like, oh, cool, he's finding things. And I'm filming what I'm looking at, and occasionally I'm filming the ground and I'm looking over my shoulder to make sure you're still there and something didn't happen, because we're the only 2 people there, right? Well, right. We weren't the only ones there. We were the only 2 humans there, but we weren't the only ones there. And I'm going to show you guys some of the video right now of a bunch of people sent me screen captures and timestamps to look at. Robin McRae, Blaine Tyler found the one that I zoomed in on. I don't know if it was on purpose or accidental. I can't remember doing it. I may have just spotted something that didn't look right and zoomed in on it. And with the camera I got, you're not looking through an eyepiece. You got a little screen. So if the sun's in the wrong place, you can't see what you're looking at anyway, which it tends to happen a lot. I really don't like that feature of that camera. Okay, I'm back on the ground again. That's what I was walking through over there. When I stopped filming, it was up there. Anyway, sorry about that. More of what the areas around these things look like. Just the amount in here. This is just like, other areas don't look like this. And so whether they're taking advantage of areas with an obscene amount of deadfall or they're actually creating it, it gets apparently one desired effect of stupid humans are too lazy and lumbering and clod-like to get through this stuff and don't want to walk through it. So consequently, we don't go far enough out into it to see what could be out in the middle of a big tangle of this kind of stuff. And this is like, believe it or not, it's pretty light compared to what we find in some of these places, where it's like even considerably bigger and more tangled. And it's just such a pain in the butt to walk through, humans don't go through there. So whether they're picking these spots because But, anyway, I zoomed in on him for 13 seconds. He's lying behind a log, peeking up over it with his eyes and the bridge of his nose barely over it. And you can see the whole top of his head. And I asked Blaine, how'd you notice that? And he goes, oh, he's obvious as hell. He's got the light shining off his hair on the other side of his head. And I'm like, well, forgive me for being a complete idiot, not being able to notice it. At least I zoomed in on it. And then at another point when I'm walking through there, and you guys might remember this part, I'm off the ground. I'm walking literally on the timber tangle like it's scaffolding, and I'm 6-7 feet up in the air. And I get way up on one of them, and there's another one in front of me about 80 or 100 feet, and I zoom in on that one at the base of it. And there's one, maybe two of them underneath that watching me, and I got one of them's face on camera real clear. So I'm going to show you guys that one too.
Sorry about that, trying to cling precariously and with the camera one-handed again. Yeah, this is fun. Cling precariously and with the camera one-handed again.
So yeah, they were following us around, and they were right near where you were at, and they were probably zapping your camera, and that's why you weren't getting anything. Friggin' meanie forest ninjas. So we survived that, and we got out of there again, and then we jumped in the truck, and we made a couple stops going up the river to check various spots for any sign of tracks or anything. Didn't have much luck, and we got up to Camp B, and then I started walking around trying to do this comparison video from when we had been there with Kevin and Caveman a couple years before. And as soon as we put that out, I had 4 different people send me that particular timestamp that they're all over the place in here. And Bama BF said one of them across the river behind a tree. And the first time I go across the tree, you can see what looks like a little bulge lower on one side and a little bit higher on the other side of the tree, a black bulge. And then the second time I go across it, neither one of them is there. There's just one bulge down at the base of the tree, where apparently there was one peeking around the tree, his head on one side and butt on the other. And when I came back the second time with the camera, it had ducked down. There's also another one that's on my side of the river that's right where the boulders are going down my side of the river, down river there. And as I'm walking, you can see him stick his head up in between these boulders and look at me. There might be another bigger one over the left-hand side of him that looks like at one point it's stepping back into the tree line as I'm starting to come forward so I wouldn't catch it. But the other one just stuck his head right up. That was obvious. And then 3 different people told me when I was zooming in on that piece of where the little stand of pine trees is right there, where they had seen one, he was right down by the ground. And I'm zooming in on that spot. If you look to the right and above it, 3 different people have told me there's actually one right there watching me. And as I start to zoom in, he backs off, so you can't see him. So very, very creepy stuff. We'll show you all that. And then after that, we got back to camp. And when we got back to camp, there was another guy there. Michael Matt had finally showed up. Yay!
Yay! Yeah.
Followed like right around dark. I think it was the Helena boys finally showed up with their big camper mobile and their two dogs, Zeus and Face Eater.
Oh, sir.
So I know you were pretty tuckered out by the time we got back at the end of that whole ordeal, all that tromping around. But you were holding up pretty good considering you'd just gotten zapped earlier that morning. Just to backtrack a bit, when everybody started telling me I needed to look at the 24-minute mark where we had been doing that comparison video, and there was apparently all kinds of, all over the place. So I was obliged to go through it and look at it in real slow motion. And keeping in mind, we had been there 2 years earlier, and we had been able to get across the river at that point. When me and Papa Craig were there, the river was way too high to try and wade across it. We would just get washed down the river into a log jam. But when we were there 2 years previously, there was a big log jam there, and the river was really low, and we could walk across it. So we scouted the other side of the river and found their trail over there and found where all of their hidey spots were where they observed that particular camp from. Got some really good ones. So while I was there with Papa Craig, I knew exactly where they would be sitting on that far side of the bank if they were over there. And when I went back and looked at that video in super slow motion, frame by frame, you can see in a couple of them where there are some there. You can see the shadow moving. Shadow don't move around. So yeah, we had them all over us when we were there. And that, remember the other thing that was there? There was that lone biker that was going to camp there that night.
Yeah, the lone biker, and we told him about it might be kind of dangerous to be where he was. It's just be aware and be careful.
Kind of springish, and you're in grizzly country, and there's Sasquatch around here, and we know there's Sasquatch around here, and you might want to take a campsite a little further down the river, but that's up to you.
Yes, and he kind of chuckled and said he'd be fine. And they got some tiny.
I hope he never sees the video and sees the breakdown of the stuff that we were filming while we were there.
Right, because they were already all around watching him.
Yeah, they're all curious. What's this idiot on a bike doing here this time of year? I mean, there's still snowbanks up there. Keep this in mind. That's why they're giving him the one over, like, potential mental defective. Keep a close eye on this one. He was from, where did he say, Oregon or something?
Seattle.
He had biked way the hell over from Seattle. So, yeah, that was a long, long bike ride already. So draw what you will of your own conclusions from that. If he comes up on missing 411, we might be able to weigh in on what happened to him. But we were up there last month, and there wasn't any torn up tent or any stuff lying around or anything. So apparently he survived and got out of there, we hope.
Usually people do, almost always.
Usually almost always, or they end up in a missing 411 book, one or the other.
Or they go camp in town and get ate by a grizzly.
Yeah, you get attacked by a grizzly camping in a park downtown. And we are back with Michael Matt, all the way from up north of me in the same state.
Big state.
Oh yeah, we're here to cover the expedition that we had in June, where we had the whole team together and we did the full recon of the valley, trying to figure out where everything was road-wise, and had, like I said, again, the full team. What do we have, 7, 8 people up there?
Let me see here. Yeah, there was me, you, Papa Craig. There was Hawk and his brother, and then Ashton and Austin. Finally.
So 7 of us, yep. So big old crew. And again, you know, you guys have already heard what happened the first day when me and Papa Craig got up there, and it was the second evening when Mike showed up, and you at least beat the the Helena boys there. They were they showed up after you did.
Fashionably late, yeah.
And you're
Yep.
from much further away, so
Yeah. It was at least a
well,
4-hour drive to get there, so.
yeah. Mike moved up north recently here, so he's much further away than he used to be. So it takes much more long driving to get here and do things. So we're lucky we can get him to show up. But again, we do have other members of our team that don't get here nearly as often. And this month here in August, we've got 2 of them showing up. Galen's coming from over, and we're Portland, where he's near, and Shane's coming over from Spokane. So we'll have those 2 guys back. They haven't been over here since 2019 was the last time they were over here.
Yep. With Ben and Kevin.
Yep, Kevin and Caveman are up here. Right on. Well, I'll let you take the floor then. After you came up the pass and you got there, and we all met up, and Helena boys got there. I don't remember if much of anything happened that night, the first night that you got there. Did we hear anything?
I don't remember hearing anything that first night. I showed up while you and Papa Craig were up at the teepee filming that tangle of trees. And I was basically setting up my tent, and Hawk and his brother finally showed back up, and then we chatted and waited for you guys to get there. But no, I don't remember a whole lot happening that first night. It was pretty quiet.
Yeah, we had run way down the valley to the permanent big teepee down there, and walked through the old timber tangle, and then went up to Camp B where we had camped in 2019, and tried to shoot some video to show where Caveman and Shane had been sitting when they saw one sneaking up on camp in the dark. And of course, while I was filming it, they were there. And so I'll have to show you some little clips of that here. These are mostly found by Bama Bigfoot, but also Blaine Tyler spotted the same chunk of video and said, you need to take a look at this closer. There's a bunch of stuff going on there. And yeah, so lots of fun, but always more disturbing to find it after the fact too.
Yeah, a bunch of photobombing going on.
Apparently we were the center of attention that weekend. So after that first night was over, then we did the full recon of the valley that next day. And what are your thoughts and memories on that?
Well, I got to dust off the old memory bank there. 2 months, and I've been busy, with my move and all that stuff. But I remember we gathered and you drew a rudimentary kind of diagram of the valley that we were going to try and accomplish, splitting up into teams to do the recon. And we have that video.
If you're walking with us, come over here. Come on, Hawk, you too.
I wasn't planning on walking, Duke.
Okay. Okay, everybody, here's the deal. There's the Skelco Pass Road. We're right in the middle of it. That's over there. Here's the road that's coming into the valley. Excuse me. Here's the road that's coming into the valley. Sinking into the valley. And then you get a little bit further down. You got one going down the one end. And then here's where that little river is. And then the other one that turns and goes up the other loop around the other side of the valley. Now what me and Mike have noticed on reconning the valley here, you go away about halfway up the valley here before it starts to slope upward. There's a little access road that cuts back this way. It was heavily trafficked, so we walked into it, and there was people had been going in there wood cutting. There were big rutted roads and stuff, and we were starting to see structures and stuff, and got back part way in, and then had to come back out again. Then up here you got the arch road that goes in this way. We've driven a little ways in each time, but it's always like too iffy for a vehicle, we need to walk it. And then when you go up here, here's where Kevin discovered the area with the giant arch and the upside down X structure, which they now put a sign up saying no road access, don't try and drive in here no more. So we don't know where that one goes to. And then you go up toward the end of the valley here where it dead ends, and it's non-motorized access only beyond that. right before that, again, there's like a little pull-out area there, and there's a road that goes back in here. There's a little stream that crosses it, which is why we haven't bothered to walk it. And then it just goes in here. So my guesstimate, all these connect, right? Let's go find out for sure.
You and I went as a team, and then Papa Craig and was it Austin were a team, and then Ashton, separate thing with his mighty dog.
Yeah. And we got everybody except Papa Craig and Austin on video. They must not have shot anything when they went. And all they did was just drive in and go, well, that's as far as you can drive in. They turned around and came back. They didn't try walking in beyond that or anything. That's why we didn't run into them.
Yeah, because we eventually did intersect where they should have, been.
Yeah.
Because we had tried the one spot that was blocked off that Kevin had found some tree structures, and the trail basically kind of just petered out and was lost to the